Around 80% of the stones that you're going to find in nature, well, they were statues. And if you've ever seen anything that can only be described as a mud fossil, well, this episode's for you, because today we're going to learn how I came about that information, what it means for modern geology, and what really is a mud fossil. Now, I'm willing to bet that the statement, 80% of stones in nature are from statues, it generates some kind of negative emotion. In fact, many of you probably clicked because you wanted to see what foolish explanation I was about to give. Well, understand that I actually had the same reaction when I came about this information. And in fact, I would be giving this information to everyone much sooner had I not been so disgusted by the idea. You see, I discovered what seems to be a prehistoric world culture. And through that process, I learned some things that really taught a lot about our environment. And it was too much for me to take in. But I'm not going to start with stones. I'm going to start with mud fossils, because I, like many of you, long before I ever made this discovery, saw the same stuff. It was really undeniable. I mean, the best one happens to be that giant serpent thing down around Antarctica. That's probably the best one. It's clearly looks like a giant snake. And so how do you explain that, Our world, as they teach us, is this natural million-year-old thing that just kind of happened over time, and dinosaurs this and whatever that, And so as you see these massive formations that are about the landscape, the only explanation seems to be massive creatures, because what else could do such a thing? So I was reluctant to accept that theory, mainly because some of these images, which I've seen, there's a very popular channel that often gets referenced in my comments. He has many examples of exactly what I'm talking about. But the problem is some of these examples can be hundreds of miles long. So in this theory, I'm being asked to believe that a creature had the capability to reproduce and consume enough food to sustain a species, not just one or two. But I, like many of you, didn't find a good explanation for what I was seeing, because I was clearly seeing it. So I reluctantly accepted, and it's just like, I guess. I mean, that's ultimately where I was. And many of you fall somewhere on that debate. Either it's completely no way, that's the silliest thing in the world. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, or barely reluctant to accept it. And if I had to guess, I would say that most people who have adopted this theory did so with a little bit of resistance, let's say. Just like me, they were seeing something, but at the same time, no better explanation has been offered. Well, that's changing. And if you're going to stick around, you're going to hear that explanation.